like why you would like it so much.
Okay. Well, I can understand, first of all, I understand why high school students don't instantly fall in love with this book on the first read. I would say I didn't fall in love with it on the first read either. It's very complex. The writing is complex, and it's slow moving. There's not a lot of action, but what it does have is complex ideas, and so I love it because this is a book that makes me think deeply. Um, it's not a book. It's not a book that you just sit down and read just for a fun, quick, pleasurable book. I wouldn't bring this to the beach with me, and read it for pleasure. But I do love reading it, and I've read it many times, because every time I read it, it makes me think deeply. And I think it's interesting to think about the nature of man. And I think it's really interesting, especially, being an American citizen, and often we regard ourselves as superior to other cultures around the world, and we often kind of pat ourselves on the back and see ourselves as different and morally better than a lot of people on Earth. And I think that a book like this makes the reader think about how people are people, and societies may be different, but at the core of who we are, we're all the same. And well, what we are isn't necessarily naturally good, and that it's our surroundings, our societies, our cultures that keep us good, and I think people forget that. So I like reading this book because it makes me evaluate kind of who I am and why I do things what I do, and what motivates me and what motivates other people. So I think it's tough to get into, but once you're willing to read it a couple times to conquer the difficulty of the text itself, then I think the reward is well worth it, because this book allows you to think deeper than books that you can read in a couple